Welcome back to the Explainer. So in our last Explainer, we dug into TensorFlow, which is Google's absolute powerhouse of a deep learning framework. We talked about tensors, automatic differentiation, and that sweet GPU acceleration. But today we're actually grabbing the steering wheel. We're diving into Keras, which is TensorFlow's incredibly accessible, high-level interface. Think about it like this. If TensorFlow is the massive high-performance engine roaring under the hood, Keras is the beautifully designed dashboard that actually lets you drive the car without needing a degree in mechanical engineering. Here is the builder's journey we are taking today. First, we'll officially meet Keras. Then, we'll start building with the Sequential API, demystify those tricky activation functions, compile and train our models, and finally, take a peek at some advanced APIs and frameworks.
All right, let's jump straight into Section 1. Meet Keras, TensorFlow's interface.
To give you a little context here, Keras actually started out as its very own, completely independent project. But developers loved it so much, they really loved it, that it was officially adopted straight into TensorFlow as TF Keras. And understanding this dynamic is super helpful. On one hand, raw TensorFlow gives you immense power through low-level manual tensor math. On the other hand, Keras gives you an incredibly intuitive, beginner-friendly face. But here's the absolutely crucial takeaway. You are not sacrificing any of that underlying power. Everything we learned about automatic differentiation and hardware acceleration is still churning right there under the surface. Keras just makes tapping into that power a whole lot friendlier. The entire Keras philosophy is built around one very explicit design principle. Building a neural network should feel genuinely intuitive. It should feel almost exactly like sketching out a network's architecture on a piece of paper. You're just creating a clear, defined sequence of distinct layers, with each one progressively transforming your data as it flows through. Honestly, it is such a relief. There is absolutely no manual management of extensive, low-level tensor operations required here. You just sketch it out in code. Moving right along to Section 2. Building with a Sequential API. Okay, so to build our sketch, we need our fundamental building blocks, right? Well, the most foundational block used throughout neural networks is the dense layer. Connecting this back to the whole individual neuron concept we discussed previously, a dense layer, which is sometimes called a fully connected layer, literally means that every single individual neuron within that layer is directly connected to every single neuron in the layer immediately preceding it. It's the absolute bedrock of your network's architecture. And when you instantiate one of these dense layers, you are completely in the driver's seat. All you have to do is specify two simple things: how many individual neurons, we usually call them units, that particular layer should contain, and which specific activation function it should use. That's it. The Sequential API takes these layers and lets you effortlessly pass them in as a list, stacking them up perfectly from your initial input all the way down to your final output. Which brings us perfectly to Section 3. Demystifying activation functions. Let's dig a little deeper into that second requirement I just mentioned. An activation function basically determines whether, and specifically how strongly, a given neuron actually fires based on its combined weighted inputs. So why does this matter? Well, without them, your network is fundamentally limited to only learning really simple, straight-line relationships. Activation functions are genuinely essential for allowing a neural network to effectively learn complex, meaningfully nonlinear patterns in your data. It is quite literally how the network begins to understand the messy, complex real world. Now, here is a quick visual cheat sheet for the three main activation functions you're going to be using all the time. First up is ReLU, or Rectified Linear Unit. This is by far the most commonly used function throughout the hidden layers of most modern networks. It's your go-to. Next is sigmoid, which is generally used specifically in a network's final output layer for binary classification problems. Think simple yes or no answers. And finally, softmax. You'll use this in the output layer for classification problems that involve more than two distinct categories. Definitely keep this mental map handy when you're building. All right, on to Section 4, compiling and training models. So your structural paper sketch is done. Now we have to prep it for reality through a step called compilation. By simply calling model.compile, you configure the model for training using three essential ingredients. First up, the optimizer. A popular one is the Adam algorithm, and this determines exactly how the model's individual weights should be updated during training. Second, a loss function. This precisely measures how far off your model's current predictions actually are from the genuine correct answers. And third, your metrics, like accuracy, which you obviously want tracked and reported throughout the entire training process. Now for the main event, the actual training. You just call model.fit, passing in your training data along with your corresponding target values. From there, Keras handles the entire underlying training process for you automatically. It repeatedly passes your data through the network, calculates that loss, and updates the individual weights for a specific number of complete passes through your dataset. And just as a quick reminder, in the world of deep learning, we call those complete passes epochs.
Okay, get ready for a real aha moment here. If you joined us for our earlier scikit-learn explainer, you know this next pattern intimately. Once your model is trained using model.fit, how do you think you generate predictions on new data? Yep, model.predict. That exact, familiar, beautifully consistent naming convention we saw across scikit-learn, XGBoost, LightGBM, and CatBoost, it applies directly here to deep learning in Keras. It's the exact same workflow you already know, just with a much, much more powerful engine underneath. But as we've learned in the past, especially in that XGBoost explainer, we really have to watch out for our old nemesis, overfitting. When calling model.fit, you can easily provide a separate validation dataset. Keras will then automatically evaluate your model's performance against this held-out data after every single individual epoch. This lets you closely monitor if your model is steadily improving or if its performance on genuinely new, unseen data is actually starting to get worse, which is, of course, the classic red flag for overfitting.
Finally, Section 5, Advanced APIs and Frameworks.
Now, while the Sequential API works wonderfully for straightforward linear sequences, sometimes you just need something a bit more complex. That's where Keras provides the Functional API. It's designed for sophisticated architectures requiring multiple distinct inputs, outputs, or complex nonlinear connections. Plus, beyond just our basic dense layers, Keras comes packed with ready-to-use specialized layers. You've got convolutional layers specifically designed for processing image data, and recurrent layers designed for sequential data like text or time series. We will absolutely be exploring these in much more depth later in this deep learning block, but it's great to know they are waiting right there in your toolkit right now.
Let's also talk briefly about how Keras stacks up against the other titan in the room, PyTorch. This is a very practical decision you will likely make repeatedly in your career. Keras is noticeably faster to get started with and incredibly beginner-friendly precisely because of that super clean sequential API. PyTorch, on the other hand, which was developed by Meta, is generally preferred in academic research settings by developers who need finer, more granular control over a network's precise internal behavior. I will say, though, the genuine differences between the two have narrowed considerably in recent years. And don't worry, we'll actually be diving deep into PyTorch in our very next explainer.
So let's bring this all together into a literal 4-step professional workflow that you will use constantly in the real world. Step 1, define your architecture using the sequential or functional API. Step 2, compile that model with your optimizer, loss function, and metrics. Step 3, train it using model.fit, being careful to monitor your validation data. And step 4, evaluate that final model and generate predictions on entirely new data using model.predict. Seriously, if you can sketch it out in your head, you can build it.
Before we officially wrap up, keep these essential best practices in mind. Always start with the Sequential API for the vast majority of your projects. Only make the move to functional if your architecture genuinely demands it. Always, always include a separate validation dataset to catch that pesky overfitting early on. And finally, take the time to experiment directly with different activation functions and optimizers on simple, small-scale problems first. Developing a real, genuine intuition for how your choices affect the training process will be an enormous asset to you as we start tackling more complex projects. And that brings us to the end of our builder's journey today. With the full underlying power of TensorFlow now resting right at your fingertips through just a few intuitive lines of Keras code, what complex problem will you sketch out and solve next? Deep learning really doesn't have to be intimidating, you guys. It just takes the right tools. Now, if this explainer helped clarify the Keras workflow for you, make sure you're subscribed because we still have 77 more packages ahead of us in this massive series of explainers. Like I mentioned, in our next one, we are tackling PyTorch. Thanks so much for joining me, and I will see you in the next one.